everything is okay. Their directed energy weapon bullshit is off the fucking charts. It is. But it doesn't make any difference what the difference the fuck they do to me. Their child trafficking operation. There's enough people now who are aware of it, who know what's going on. What they do with it is totally up to them. It's totally part of judgment. Who knows? Um, as far as the stuff that I posted on my blog, what they showed with that whole protection order with my stepmother is exactly what I was saying. But even then, they mix it with so much bullshit and they present it. Let me point out, they try to make me out to be this psychopath with my stepmother, but there's no police reports. There's no even incident reports. There's nothing. Because I don't, ever since I've moved out when I was 18, I avoid that bitch as best as I can. The protection order was taken out because she wanted to close down my blog and stop my book. And it didn't work. And it didn't just stop with the protection order. When I published my book, her lawyer, who was her cousin, Gerald Fredrickson, were sending threatening letters to everyone involved who was helping me with my book opening. They went so far as to send one of those threatening letters to two women in Council Bluffs that just sold cupcakes. I was just by, they were my cupcake ladies, and they sent a threatening note saying how they were going to sue if they let me do this book reading. So it wasn't just stopped. My stepmother went out of her way to try and stop shit, you know? And it didn't work. It didn't work. And they can run with that one. They probably want to run with that one because now the one in Kent, Washington, now they're trying to say that there were two petitioners, a man and a woman, but now they're saying the woman is a 1-year-old. So I guess a 1-year-old took out a protection order on me in Kent, and that's supposed to make sense. You know, again, it's all to prevent people from looking into what I'm saying about their child trafficking operation. And Church of Satan, which they're trying to say, oh, first of all, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody being Jewish or not being Jewish. Your religious affiliation to all of this doesn't make any fucking difference. Nobody is looking into you because you're Catholic or Jewish or Muslim or whatever the fuck you might be. You know? They're looking into it because you're into a child trafficking operation. Second, and probably most important, nobody is talking about Church of Satan. You know? That, and that's what it was trying, they were trying to actually bring up church. That was Anton LaVey. The two that need to be looked at right now, Temple of Set, which was all Michael Aquino's baby. He's the founder of Temple of Set, and Satanic Temple, which is Doug Mesner. And Doug Mesner is directly connected to what was going on with Michael Aquino. He has his whole history is going and shutting down survivors. That's his whole history. And so it's not hard to figure out. But Church of Satan isn't any part of it. And it doesn't make any difference if these people say they're Republican or if they say they're Democrat or if they say they're Jewish or Catholic or Satanist, even though that bullshit is not going to work. Because Doug Mesner cannot say it's religious discrimination, which is what Aquino ran on in the 80s and 90s. He couldn't be investigated because it was religious discrimination because he was a Satanist. But Satanic Temple runs on the fact that they're not Satanists, really. They're atheists. So, you know, how can you religiously discriminate against someone that doesn't is calling themselves whatever the fuck they want to call themselves, whatever they want to call themselves that, you know? So And Michael Aquino is supposedly dead. And I don't think the Temple of Set is protected under the guise of national security. And if it is, people, we need to fucking clue into as to why. Let alone Satanic Temple. Not protected under the grounds of national security. Needs to be looked at. Needs to be looked at. That's how all of this needs to, you know. But, and then I guess they're now making videos of my ex. You know? Because I guess, you know, maybe my high school principal is next. We haven't spoken in fucking over a decade. Not a word to each other. But, okay, if you think that's going to make you look innocent and all of that, because it just looks like you're just threatening everybody. So you're making videos of my ex while you're protecting my stepmother. See how this works? It's not rocket science here. And all of the threats and all of the bullshit, I guess if you think that's going to work for you, you know, I guess if you think that's going to work for you. But I don't think it's going to work. And I do think that there are people who are looking into this. And good. Good. I know there's people investigating this shit in town. Good. Have been for a while, from what I understand. You know, it's been going on for a while. I just stirred the pot in my own special way. But, this child trafficking ring, they're gonna just distract. Has nothing to do with Church of Satan. That's Anton LaVey. He's been dead for a long time. Not a fucking thing to do with anything. Temple of Set, which is Michael Aquino's baby. Oh yeah, that needs to be looked at along with the Satanic Temple. Those two things. And not because they're Satanists or anything like that, but because there's bad shit going on there and they were run by bad people. You know? And so it's just interesting to me how it all just seems to work out. And it's all starting to fall into place. And so and I'm just, the shit that they're doing about my ex, you know, it's just really sad. But like everyone else, he always wanted to pretend that none of this shit was real. And the people that I said were after me weren't after me. And now he'll find out. You know? Sorry, but karma can be a bitch. And I don't have any control over these dumbasses. None. I have no control over what dumbass movies they make, what fucking dumbass threats they email me, what the stupid shit they email me, period. The stuff that they're talking about and all of their other bullshit and all of that, I don't have any control over any of it. And don't care. Don't care. They lie, they misrepresent, and it's all to keep everyone from looking into their child trafficking operation. And generally they can get people to shut up. But me, fuck them. I'm not going to shut up. And I know it pisses them off. And that just does my heart some good. Will they succeed? Well, they're fucking blasting the shit out of me with their directed energy weapons. They're probably wondering why I'm not dead yet. You know? Shit, I wonder that. Sometimes. But they can torture people. Fuck, they don't need camps. They can torture people in their own fucking homes. That's, you know... And they said they had this shit years and years and years ago, and now it's even gotten more advanced. People saying that it doesn't exist are stupid. The fuck do you think causes the Havana syndrome? And so it's just I have not done a linear historical timeline. The blog is a timeline. You know, the blog is, you know, there is no company that the book goes back to. It started off that way at the beginning, but there's none. So go ahead and look, you know? But it was never in my name anyway. Shit, it's fucking not in my name now, you know? You keep digging. Because, shit, nobody fucking gets rich on one goddamn book, you know? I'm no more famous with my book than I am. I'm not like well known online. So but the government will come in here because they're trying to hide this child trafficking bullshit. That's the reason why they did what they did with Maxwell. That's the reason why people are getting pardoned. That's the reason why people are getting off. Because it's all part of it. And they have you looking at one or the other when it's fucking all of them. That's the problem, is that it's all of them. It's a system that we're fighting. They're just, you know, cogs. And so the dark is about ready to claim its own. The dark is about ready to claim its own. They just now are telling people, oh, auroras can be seen in the summertime in 18 states now. Look at the pretty lights. Look at the pretty lights. You do realize that aurora is generally a wintertime thing, right? Let alone being seen in fucking 18 states. Obviously, that's not fucking normal. But you can't convince anybody of anything anymore. You know? They'll tell themselves whatever the fuck they want. They'll tell themselves whatever the fuck they want. The sun is inundating us. We are being cooked. It's the whole reason why we're having volcanic activity along with earthquakes. CERN probably wasn't a good idea. That's super duper fucking more powerful than any magnet ever in the fucking universe that China has. Probably not a good idea. I don't know why you would want to fuck with shit like that. But they have a huge magnet. There's all kinds of stuff. You know? HARP up in Alaska. And they wonder why they have the problem. And HARP is nothing more than Star Wars. You remember Ronald Reagan's Star Wars? What it's designed is it's supposed to be a missile defense mechanism. And what it does is it superheats the atmosphere up above so that any missile that comes through blows up over the ocean. That's what it does. So they built this fucking thing, and who would have any idea that superheating the fucking upper atmosphere over and over and over would have any fucking problems later on down the road? Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should do something. And so, and they have us looked at everything to say, hey, Gov, they have everything to say, you know, anybody who actually points out the fucking obvious, what difference does it make? The shit is going crazy, you know? I think we're at the end. I think we're at the end. I think things are not going to rein themselves in. And these dumbasses are not going to be able to take over the way they think they're going to be able to take over. They haven't been able to anyway. And Donald Trump is on the roof of the fucking White House saying how he wants to put nuclear bombs there. They have him on video doing that shit. And that doesn't scare any of you at all, right? That's not fucking scary at all. Just, we're being run by fucking idiots and madmen. Worldwide. Worldwide. Just as it was prophesied. People who serve themselves. And this human trafficking, you know. Oh, yeah. The issue, Gov, with California is not that it's going to go under. The plate that's out in the ocean is going to go over Los Angeles. That's what they're thinking is going to happen. And it's going to create this like huge tsunami, you know? It's going to happen. I think it's going to happen in phases. I don't think it's going to happen all at once. I think it's going to happen. One thing's going to happen, and then a little bit later, something else is going to happen. And then a little bit later, something else is going to happen. And it's just going to keep happening in succession. That's what I think is coming. And so, and the New Madrid is moving. Everything is moving. And so, Seattle was full of satanic Nazis. That's what I found. The whole Pacific Northwest. Full of fucking Nazis. And they were all doing, they tried to do to me to my house. Doug Mesner was trying to do what Richard Spencer was doing to that town in Oregon. They were taking over a town. They were just terrorizing people and running them out and then just taking over their shit. That's what he was doing in Oregon. And Doug Mesner tried to do it to me. For my house in Washington. That's, you know, that's the reason why they fucking wanted. There was so much shit that went down in Washington other than that, you know, protection order. Oh my God. It was just, and I would get emails saying, you know, say goodbye to your house. Say goodbye to your house. Plate tectonics. It's a science. It's reality. That's the way it fucking works. When one of these volcanoes goes off, big time, it's going to release pressure. And when it releases pressure, it's going to shift the plates. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I see happening. Oh, they send just constant threats. Constant threats, constant games. They break into my house at will. And I you know, the thing about it is take your pick. The Oompa Loompa meth head, the munchkin immigrant, or the person who's one boyfriend chased me around town with the Let's Summon Demons t-shirts. Another girl from that place stared at me through my own fence to the point where I walked up to the fence and stuck my eyeball in the fence and just continued to do it. And then another one where it was some dude that looked like he was out of jail, and every time I saw him, he didn't seem to own a shirt or a pair of shoes. He was always in jeans, but never wore shoes. He was always barefoot, and he never had a shirt on. And so, who knows? Do I think that Doug Mesner and their little group, having the money that they have coming in, just because Satanic Temple is a nonprofit, it has just, you know, they had enough to build a fucking $100,000 weird ass devil statue before they were even a nonprofit. So they have, and what I find is that most people, they'll give their souls away for free. But if you offer them a little bit of coin, oh my God, they're so in. They're so in. And so, what can you do? what can I do about any of it? There's nothing I can do about it, so I can't sit around and worry about it. You know, just got to accept what is. That it sucks, but right now that's what has to happen. I just accept what is. But what is about getting ready to change. And in the end, they'll get it all back. They will. They won't like what's waiting for them. They won't like it. And about that, there's nothing I can do either. So, but their child trafficking operation needs to come down. Michael Aquino was heading this stupid thing. You know, Isaac Cappy got murdered, yeah, because he was involved with trying to investigate all those homeless camps. And now someone left me a message that I just ended up getting rid of, but it was all about how Corey Daniel has gone down and investigated homeless camps. I bet the fuck he has. And he didn't find anything. What a fucking surprise that is. You know? But Isaac Cappy, let's be honest, he was harassing the shit out of Michael Aquino on 4 of Michael Aquino's phones. God only knows what he was saying to that dude when he was calling him. And I have a feeling it has a lot to do with what happened to Isaac. That's the reason why Isaac and I stopped talking right. It was that conversation that we stopped. Because I got pissed off. Because I thought it was reckless and stupid and didn't make any sense. But anyway, Michael Aquino is head of this stake. And he's not alone. He had associates. He wasn't running this business by himself. It's a whole operation going on. And has been going on for a while. And now that Aquino is supposedly dead, there should be no problems looking into this shit. Temple of Set, Satanic Temple. Those two places. It's not look at every Satanist out there. It's not that there's a satanic Nazi behind every bush. But the ones that I'm pointing out definitely need some scrutiny placed upon them. After Aquino, you have Gabe Hoffman. Because Gabe Hoffman is above Thomas Schoenberger, who works with the same club. You know? The Chris Mackenzie Jones idiot that works, who's supposedly in Australia. And Johnny Dubb, who I believe is Lucian Greaves. Doug Masico, a.k.a. Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple. I believe Johnny Dubb is Doug Mesner. And it's Doug Mesner and his Satanic Temple after-school daycare bullshit that needs to be looked at. Because this dude's whole history is to shut down victims of ritual abuse. That's his whole history. That's what he's done. You know? That's what he's done. He's made videos. He goes to Neil Brick's Smart Conference and actually goes there all the time and befriends people and befriends the survivors. He was supposedly attacking Pat Goodwin of Ivory Garden, but directly involved with Amber Volatin, who was involved with Lori King's death. And Lori King died just like Isaac Cappy in the weirdest fucking ways. You know? And that all needs to be looked at. It all needs to be looked at. Because they bragged about it afterwards. On the other side of Lucian Greaves, which also includes that Kara Free Range Humans idiot, and who also calls herself Emily Thorne, who also calls herself Skills, God only knows whatever fucking name she has too. She's involved. And then on the other side, you have the whole Dead Isaac Cappy Club. All of Sewertown. Jesse Davis. Daniel Dowd, who is also Pootie Twang. He also calls himself American Witchcraft. Fuck, he sets up a new account every damn day, it seems like. Geo Farnsworth. The two that came into town bragged about it on YouTube with posts. Daniel Dowd actually did live YouTube videos of my town when my friend ended up dying because they wanted to brag about murdering my friend. They're involved with this group. Corey Daniel, who is Phoenix Enigma, and his Sicilian witch wife, which supposedly was the last person Isaac Cappy talked to, you know, and Jesse Davis, who runs Sewer Town, DeFango, who's involved. You know, all of this it's all this group. And Doug Mesner as Johnny Dub was just like, oh, it's satanic Nazis everywhere. No, it's not, dude. It's just your fucking group. That's what I'm focused on. They're not everywhere. In fact, you're so much smaller than you want anyone to know. And you're exposed. That's the reason why you are trying to shut me down so hard and have been for so long. And you might end up bringing me down. Your directed energy weapon bullshit fucking is torture. Is torture. You know? But I'll go through with whatever I have to go through until God calls me home. Because I will fight this till the bitter end. That's exactly what I said I would do. And your attacks only make my resolve stronger. But with that said, you know, focusing on my ex, I guess, you know, protecting my stepmother is nauseating. What I figure happened was that when I ran in to Joanne at the farmhouse cafe, after being told that she was dead for 3 years by my sister Kathy, I just ran into her. We didn't speak a word to each other, but we both saw each other. And we both knew who the fuck we were looking at. And then I went and sat at the table with Owen. And that night, just coincidentally, my sister Kathy calls Owen out of the blue. Now, mind you, she's dumped Owen to go with his friend John, his best friend John. She's going to get married because he's part of the railroad. And she thinks that there's going to be, it's an upgrade financially. Even though I don't think it turned out that way for her. But, so she calls Owen out of the blue that night and tells Owen that I'm crazy and that I wasn't looking at Joanne and blah, 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 blah. So the next day, Owen and I almost get into a fight because he starts to question me. And I got mad and told him, don't you ever fucking question my reality again. And I said, let me guess, you talked to Kathy. And he said, yeah, she called out of the blue last night. Oh, yeah, out of the blue. What fucking happened is that Joanne saw me at the farmhouse and either called Kathy or called one of Cindy's kids who got a hold of Kathy. So she called to try to do damage control, but it was too late. It was too late. I already know. Cat's out of the fucking bag. And I assume that that bitch watches this shit. So all I have to say is, Joanne, remember the conversation that we had on the phone an hour and a half after I got back from Cindy's whole fiasco after they murdered her after Dad's death. Dad was dead. 3 weeks later, Cindy was dead. Remember the conversation I had. How you would live a long life and it would be misery and no one would love you and you would end up alone and blah, 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 blah. Look back at that and remember, I told you so. Because I know that's where you're at. I know that's where you're at. And your kids don't give a shit about you. You know? They would throw you under a bus if they thought they could get your cash. Sucks to be you at the end. You know? Honoring my mother and father, I did. You ain't blood. You ain't shit to me. Oh, you're shit. I owe you. And I know you're probably having fun with the dark. You know? And so that's how it works. My mental state is fine. You know, the issue with these idiots is that if someone was breaking into your house at will and just fucking with you by breaking into your house, most of you would fucking go mental just with that. And yet, you know, my mental state is fine. I'm just dealing with what I have to fucking deal with. And to say that there's no one in town who could possibly be doing that, then who the fuck was hanging up those flyers all over fucking town? It's not like that didn't happen, you know? And so that's the shit part about it is. Breaks into my home all the time. Steals shit. Stole a fucking old laptop I didn't even realize was gone. Oh, excuse me. But they bragged to me about it. So I had to go down and look, and sure enough, you know, I called the fucking sheriff's department for as good as that fucking did me. Told them, look, they fucking broke into my house. They bragged about that fucking computer, and it was gone, you know. Didn't give a shit about the old Dell computer. Didn't give a shit about that computer. I was mad about the bag. And then when I found out how expensive that bag was, because someone had just given me that bag, oh my God. And so I was pissed. They break in all the time. And they're making videos of them burning my house down and blowing it up and murdering me and lynching me and all of the threats that are going on to protect their child trafficking operation. That's what it is to protect their child trafficking operation. They've doxed me. Shit, the flyers that they hung around town had my address, my picture, and saying that I was a fucking pedophile. You know? Hoping that someone would show up and shoot me. And someone caught the deputy sheriffs in town doing it. On video. That they put on Facebook. And people saw it. You know? People in town saw it. So to say that I'm just delusional and it's all in my mind and all of that, if people went through the shit I went through, let alone they fucking came in town and murdered my friend 2 years ago and then bragged about it to me. But I'm just supposed to let that go. They've doxed me. Fuck, they take videos of my house. They broke into my house and bragged about breaking and entering and stealing. And my fucking sheriff has that fucking email. They have that Shadow Dragon program. If they don't have it, it's 30 miles down the fucking road or a phone call away. Because I believe that it's in Denison and it's 30 miles away. All they have to do is type in that address, email address, and they'll know exactly who sent it. Who bragged about breaking into my house and stealing that laptop. But they dox me. They put my phone number out. They do anything they fucking can to shut me down and shut me up. But the cameras that I have on my house do work. And now there's going to be other shit that's being added all the time. I will catch them in my house. I will catch them in my house. They won't be able to stop it. They can't shut everything down, and some cameras don't have any Wi-Fi. You won't know that they're there. And there's all kinds of designs. And so I'll find out. And when I do, I ain't gonna call the police. I'm just gonna fucking upload the shit right onto my blog. I'm just gonna show the fucking world. This whole I was crazy and it was all in my head actually worked in town before they passed out those flyers. But now that doesn't work anymore. Because now there's obviously people in town who are helping with this shit, and it's a concerted group. you know, and there's a concerted group that's focused, and it's all so that they can protect their child trafficking operation. The Dead Isaac Cappy Club and Satanic Temple, Temple of Set, you know, and it has nothing to do. Oh, the sheriff they screwed themselves. They screwed themselves, you know. They screwed themselves, and I've documented all of this. That's the whole thing is that I've documented everything. Let me point out that 11 o'clock the morning of Owen's funeral, I was doing a video downstairs and someone tried to break into my house while I was home. I had the door booby trapped so you couldn't get in it without making a bunch of noise. And I've had to do shit like that, which is fucking just, it's irritating to me that I have to end up living like that. But what the fuck can I do? You know? What the fuck can I do? I can't stop them. I don't, you know? I'm not omniscient. I'm not omnipotent. I just have to deal with their bullshit. And what they're doing to me is the same shit they were doing to Isaac Cappy. That's the reason why Isaac Cappy was so scared. I bet they were doing the same thing to Tracy Twyman. That's the reason why Lori King just fucking gave up. That's why Max Spears just, from what I understand when I talked to his mom, he knew that if he didn't go to the airport, they were going to kill him. And he just went back to them and let him kill him. You know? They wear you down. But for me, I gave up this life. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it till the end. Because that's what I promised to do. Because I'm focusing on the other side. And what's going to happen after. They're going to get claimed by the dark, and they ain't going to like it. They ain't going to be like being claimed by the dark. They ain't going to like the shit they go through in the dark. And so, but after spending an eternity in the dark, they'll never fucking choose the dark or evil again. Ever. What the dark, spending an eternity in the dark, what it does for you is it gives you a good, healthy fear of God. Because you should fear God. Because when heaven reacts, there ain't a fucking thing you can do, and it's oftentimes wrathful. You know? And Jesus Christ didn't change any of that. Gave us hope for redemption. But, so with that said, I'm going to get off here. I have shit I want to get done. But, they're blasting the fuck out of me with their directed energy weapons. And where is it coming from? Fuck, I don't know. How would I know? You know? I just know what it's like to experience it. The people that went through what they call the Havana syndrome said it was torture. That's what it is. It's torture. They can torture people in their own homes. And they pay people to do it. And there are a lot of people out there that sell their souls for $1. They'd fucking give their souls away if they thought they could do evil shit and feel like they were, you know, if they were protected. There are a lot of people who like evil. They like dark. Makes them feel strong. Makes them feel powerful. Right now, that's important. Because now they feel empowered. Especially now they feel empowered. And now you're seeing people just do more and more outrageous shit. And what they're doing is not in their best interest, you know? So, with that said, they can focus on my ex. Whatever. I couldn't stop it anyway. While they protect Joanne, who's a fucking child killer. And she's a fucking psychopath. She's one of my worst abusers. She's one of my worst abusers. And all of her bullshit, you know, I pushed her once in our entire life. And it was because she smacked me on the head. It was the last time I ever pushed her, because that was when we both realized how much stronger I was with her. Nobody stood over her with the fucking butcher knife. It's stupid. All of that shit was stupid. She's fucking... She needs to be investigated. Which is how all this shit started. She needs to be fucking investigated. And the fact that they're going to defend her, just... She needs to be investigated. She's as culpable as my father was. And my father may be dead, but she is not. And that's now why they're focusing on her. And why the fuck they're focusing on my ex? Who knows? You know, who knows? But they changed that woman petitioner who was in court, by the way. Both petitioners were in court that day. There were no children, let alone a fucking 1-year-old. You know? But all of this is being done to protect their child trafficking operation. And as stupid as it may seem, and as stupid as some of their shit is, it doesn't make them any less lethal. And it doesn't mean that this criminal operation is not going on. Most fucking criminals aren't going to build any rockets to the fucking moon. They're all stupid. That's what I've realized. You know? Those who actually focus on that kind of lifestyle do it because they don't have the ability to do anything else. You know? And so, what can you do? But, with it said, I'm out of here. I gotta go get shit done. And the weather is broken here. It rained. The humidity's not super bad. It's only 80 degrees in this room. That's quite a drop, because last week it was close to 100. So they never spoke in court. It was just their lawyer. They never spoke. Not a word. Not a word. But it wasn't a fucking 1-year-old. You know? The stupid shit is just in all of those videos listed on that protection order. And I talk about Doug. That's the reason why they looked their butt puckered when I was in court. And I didn't realize it until afterwards when I went to go look at all those videos to find out that those 15 plus videos, I didn't talk about the petitioners not even fucking once. I never spoke about them in a video. Ever. I was solely focused on Doug Mesner. And all those videos had nothing to do with the petitioners whatsoever. Didn't talk about him at all. But only and solely dealt with Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, who, unbeknownst to me, lived 23 miles away in Tacoma. I was living in Algona. He lived in Tacoma, which was 23 miles away. And if there wasn't a connection between the petitioners and Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, because they were breaking into my house then too and driving me fucking insane, they wouldn't stop. You know? I find it funny because I bet that dude watches these videos, and I hope he watches this one. The one where I just handed the neighbors out my book. And then I walked to the store that's 2 blocks away, and when I'm coming back, he's out in the middle of the fucking street. Every neighbor in the neighborhood is outside, And he's screaming at me, I'm not CIA. I'm not CIA. And when I just simply looked at him and said, well, I'm not a purple unicorn, but you don't see me screaming out in the streets with all the neighbors, he became fucking incensed and then demanded I get in his truck with him so we could drive to the police station. And that's how all that shit went down. But if there wasn't a connection to Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, and these idiots with that protection order, how did they have all of those videos listed? What was the connection there? Because none of them were about them. They were only about Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, who I have been fighting him and his minions now for close to a decade. Ever since I published my book in 2012. It's gotten really bad since then. You know? And so that's when it comes down to it, the dark has them. The dark has them. There's no way to stop what's going to happen. And there's a connection to them and Doug Mesner. Just like I said there was. Just like I said there was. And Ryan Miller, who was the deputy or whatever that was trying to set me up with all of this, when I broke the protection order, do you know how I broke the protection order? From my front door to the road, you had to go down this lane. It had to have been 150 feet. I had 2 lots, and I had a house at the very back of those 2 lots. And they stopped in front of my door. That woman, who's supposedly 1 year old, but she was fucking driving a car, stopped in front of me and just stayed there. And I was on my front porch, and I just simply flipped them off and walked back into the house. And that's what broke the second one. That's how I ended up in fucking court the second time. You know? Because they were fucking harassing me and I simply flipped them off. And Ryan Miller wrote me up for that I broke that fucking protection order. It's interesting how close these motherfuckers work with the police. It's interesting how it works that way. Because it was working that way out in Algona with Ryan Miller. The only one out there that I trusted was Gilbert Lenger. He was the only cop out there. McKay, I thought was a good guy, but God only knows. And here in Shelby County, fuck, Neil Gross couldn't be worse. And his little posse at the Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff. Fuck. Let me remind everyone that Johnny Dubb, Thomas's friend Johnny Dubb, is also the dude who's saying that he's wanting to sell guns to the sheriff's department. They have all those emails. Everyone has all those emails. Just because it happened a while ago. But he was taking photographs of guns that were all laid out on a bed and how he was selling them to the cops in town here, Shelby County. I believe that it was Doug Mesner, you know. Right. Saki knows. Saki knows. You know. So those are the people that I'm having to battle. Those are the people who are honest, law-abiding citizens, and I'm the bad guy. You know? All this child trafficking needs to be investigated, and all this drama bullshit that everyone wants to feed themselves into, it's not about me. It's not about me. I'm not into the fucking child trafficking. And as far as my stepmother goes, there's been no communication between either one of us. When I saw her, I just walked away. If we were out on the street, I would cross the street to fucking avoid her. That's what you do with people like her. You go out of your way to avoid them. Because it's just chaos and stupid shit to actually end up dealing with them. And so, but my stepmom is not dead. So the dark is fucking with her. I don't believe that Aquino is dead, and the darkness is fucking with him. And they might bring me down with their directed energy weapon bullshit. They might. Doesn't negate the fact that they did. That it's been awful. It's been awful for a long, long, long time. It's been awful. You know? And what is what's waiting for them on the other side. They can say whatever the fuck it is they want to say. Convince anybody bullshit that they want to convince them. Won't make any fucking difference. Nothing secret on the other side. And this shit's waiting for them. This is the environment they've had me in for years. This fucking torturous bullshit. The thing that I've learned with it is that I can channel this right into the dark. And it's interesting because now that I've dealt with all of this, I understand the nuances of it. I understand the everyday living, what it's like, what it feels like, what it does to the body. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. They direct fucking low frequency microwaves into people. It's not healthy. That's the reason why they had all kinds of fucking physical problems with that Havana syndrome afterwards. And that's caused by being hit by these directed energy weapons. It works that way. You know? But they think there's no accountability, and they're wrong. I'm sure of what I hope for. And I'm certain of what I do not see. I know that heaven is getting ready to claim these motherfuckers. It's using the dark that they love so much to claim them. That's where they go. The goats have to go somewhere. The sheep go to the new garden. What the fuck did you think was going to happen to the goats? They get to go right into the fucking dark. That's how it works. And you can argue and you can say, oh, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. He is mentally ill, saying what would happen after death. So please tell us with definitive answer what happens after death then. If I'm wrong and I'm crazy, then you obviously have a better way. You know something that the rest of us don't. Because what if this shit I'm saying isn't anything new. I'm not pulling any of this shit out of my ass. It's all stuff we've been told before. None of it is new. It's not original. I didn't make it up. I certainly didn't write it in scripture, 2,500 years ago. Wasn't around, didn't write scripture, didn't have anything to do with it. I'm just reminding people of what we were told. Nothing has changed. And that's how it works. They ain't gonna like where they're headed. They ain't gonna like where they're headed. And like that twit that I saw the other day, they're all young. They haven't given a fucking thought to their own mortality whatsoever. And what's difficult about the younger generation is this weird sense of entitlement. And I think that this shit is getting ready to happen. The volcano shit is getting worse. The earthquakes are getting bigger. The sun is getting stronger. God only knows what that 31 Atlas thing is that's headed our way. God only knows what that is. There's all kinds of shit that's happening that's actually changing things. We're already in the process of it. Any idiot that actually looks and can logically see what is going on and the conclusions of what's going to happen. Because can you give a way to reverse any of this shit, to even stop it, to even slow it the fuck down? Do you have any ideas? Or just to pretend that it doesn't exist and it's all okay and, how we feel is more important than actually what is. So you can be dismissive all you want. Be dismissive. I don't give a shit. I'm just saying that regardless if the world fucking ends or not, this child trafficking operation needs to be fucking exposed. You know, that's what it needs to happen. This child trafficking operation needs to be exposed. Whether or not the volcanoes go, whether or not the sun cooks us, whether or not 31 Atlas is an alien invasion getting ready to happen, who the fuck cares? It doesn't negate the fact that this child trafficking operation needs to be fucking exposed and it needs to be stopped. And you can run around any fucking rabbit hole and bring up any goddamn dumbass thing, you know? But it doesn't negate the fact that this child trafficking operation needs to be investigated and it needs to be stopped. Now, that's how it works. That's it. That's what needs to happen. And I've given you enough. I've been at this for years. I have a long history and I've dealt with all of these idiots personally in one way or the other. And so when it comes down to it, I think that because I have given so much time and effort, that maybe what I'm saying should at least be fucking considered, you know? Because what they want to say is David is crazy, David's this, David's that. Don't look at anything David has to say. And other people are just like, well, you know, it makes me uncomfortable, so I really don't want to hear it. It doesn't negate anything, the truth of what I'm saying. It doesn't. You don't have to agree with me with the spiritual shit. Believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. It's America still. You know? I believe what I want to believe. Because I can. But whatever. But it doesn't negate that this fucking child trafficking operation that has an inordinate amount of dead people associated with this fucking group needs to be fucking scrutinized. Temple of Set. Satanic Temple. I will end in prayer. Thank you, Gov. I haven't done prayer in a while now. Since the shit with Sherilyn. I just have been... This struggle and this constant fight is just exhausting. And I was irritable when I was young. And when they say that people grow into grumpy old dudes, let me assure you, I'm not going to yell at kids for standing on my lawn, but it doesn't make me any less intolerant of idiots. That's just, you know, So, with it said, let me pray. Heaven, we come to you as your children. I come to you as your child. I've been grumpy. I'm still trying to do what I'm trying to do and calling it out. But, this group, it's hard not to cast on them. I just have to trust in you. Because I'm so being tested. I so want to fuck them up. Anyway, we're supposed to fill our hearts with love. And that's hard to do when you're on the front lines of all this stuff. It's hard to do. And I know that I'm going to have my shit to answer for when I meet you. Because I can preach, fill your heart with love, all I want. But sometimes I'm just so irritated with everything that I just don't even want to think about it. And I know I'm not alone in that. I think it's easier. I think it's more the norm for most of us than not. And I ask that you fill us at those times with your grace. And remind us, remind us of what we're here to do and to have faith. Be sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. These motherfuckers are going to get claimed by the dark. That's all I've ever hoped for. And I'm watching it happen. And I'm certain of what I do not see. And I'm grateful. That's all I can say. Is that me personally, I'm grateful. And I don't think I'm the only one. I think there's a lot of us that are very grateful. These days are hard, but we sure are grateful that you're trying to use us. And there's just nothing better than being useful to God and to heaven, in my personal experience. Your son, Jesus Christ, our brother, came down, taught us all about the Word, and saved me personally in so many ways because of that. So I say these things gratefully. All glory goes to you. And I say these things in your son, our brother's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. So I'm at an hour. I think this is good. Um, the fact that they actually went after my ex, I feel conflicted because part of it thinks it's funny. There's not a lot of love lost between my ex and I, so I just don't know what they thought they were going to accomplish. And the fact that they're actually fighting for my stepmother. But nothing can fix the fact that Kathy went out of her way to defend that fucking bitch. Fucking child killer. She was killing kids, little boys, right along with my dad. And they were killing little boys. They were focusing on little boys, and they were killing little boys. And she's still fucking alive, and she still needs to be investigated. She still needs to be looked at. Nothing's fucking changed. And they're fucking defending her. You know? But that's all right. Because I'm pretty sure that the darkness has a hold of that bitch by the short and curlies. And ain't gonna let go. Ain't gonna let go. So, click on the description. DavidShurter.com is my blog. Go there if you want to know more. You can type in names in the search bar down below, down on the right side. All kinds of shit will come up. I have a book, Rabbit Hole. I sell them personally for $30. If you buy them through me, it's $30 if you're in the United States. And I got nominated for Book of the Year, as you can see the little sticker. But this is my PayPal and Venmo are just my first initial D and my last name. So it's just my first initial D and my last name. Tell me where I'm sending it to and who I'm inscribing the book to, because I like to sign the books when I send them out. Donations are great. Someone was gracious and donated a little bit, and so I was able to pay a bill and still have a little bit for groceries. You know, I appreciate everything. And it's usually all the donations are very small and they're infrequent, and that's fine. You know, it's funny how God never gives me an abundance, but I always seem to have enough. But I'm okay with going without too. That's part of, you know, I'm not an instant gratification kind of person either. And so I don't know. At least I'm not running from bombs yet. Yet being the key word. You know. But anyway, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. If you like this, this is pretty much this is what these videos are. When I come on here, it's always something to be said about this. But my main focus right now is this child trafficking operation needs to be exposed and dealt with. And I'm not going to stop. And they can, like I said, send me fucking whatever weird ass threats or emails or post whatever fucking videos you want to post. Go have marathon sessions on me. Post all over Rumble. You know, fuck. It doesn't change the fact that your dumbasses are about ready to be claimed by the dark, and you ain't gonna like when that happens. You ain't gonna like it. And again, three little words. Or four little words. I told you so. I told you so. Because it's getting ready to happen. Just, you know. So, with that said, I'll be back on Tuesday for sure. Who knows? I've been going on every day because every day something happens that I'm just documenting all this shit. I'm just documenting. And the reason why they're doing all this shit is because they don't want their child trafficking operation exposed. And it needs to be exposed. So let me end with it. Temple of Set and Satanic Temple. Those two things. Not because they're satanic at all, but because they're doing bad things. It has nothing to do with the fact of their religious indoctrination. But if you're going to serve the fucking devil, it can't be of much of a surprise. You know? They can say whatever the fuck they want. But Michael Aquino was the top part of this one. I think he's still alive. Obviously, they say that he killed himself, he shot himself. I don't believe that. I believe he's still alive, but under him is Gabe Hoffman, the open secret dude. Under Gabe Hoffman is Thomas Schoenberger. Thomas Schoenberger goes with Johnny Dubb, who's Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple. I believe they're one and the same. Doug Mesner, Satanic Temple. Emily Thorne, a.k.a. Skills, a.k.a. Kara, that free-range humans idiot. They've spent their entire career closing down survivors, attacking and shutting survivors of ritual abuse down. That's what their history is. And so you have all of that and their little Satanic Temple minions, which are obviously around here because they did that weird Baphomet statue at Christmas time 2 years ago at the Capitol. And then some dude from Missouri came and sliced its head off. Oh, it was all just the rage. It was just gossip, gossip, gossip. Doug Mesner was hoping to change the conversation that was going on. And it did for a minute. But then I brought it right back. Because what it needs to be on is this child trafficking operation that needs to be brought down. With Thomas Schoenberger on the other side with this Chris Mackenzie Jones, who supposedly is from Australia, is all of Sewertown. Jesse Davis, Corey Daniel, who is a.k.a. Phoenix Enigma, and his witch, the Sicilian witch. I don't know what her name is. I just know that she calls herself the Sicilian witch. And she's supposedly the last person that talked to Isaac Cappy before he ended up dead. And he's Corey Daniel's wife. They weren't married at the time. Daniel Dowd, Geo Farnsworth. Daniel Dowd, who was not only involved with Isaac Cappy, but he was also involved with my friend Owen. So was Geo Farnsworth. They posted shit on Facebook bragging that they murdered my friend on YouTube. Not Facebook, YouTube. Live videos of Harlan and shit like that. And so then you have DeFango and Tara Joyce and Ron Patton is involved with the whole Doug Mesner shit and his whole crew in Olympia, Washington. And that's what, you know, this is a good group to start with. These are the worker bees. These are the ones who are all involved. And by Corey Daniels' own fucking admission, he goes to homeless camps all the time. He's been to at least 10 of them. You know? And if they're such advocates and they're just all of that, of course they would want to just help with any investigation from any legitimate investigator, right? If they're so involved with this and that they're so focused on helping kids, they should be wanting to help investigators instead of threatening me and attacking me and sending me emails and breaking into my house and doing all kinds of weird ass shit to me all the fucking time. They're focused on me and all the shit that's happening to me. They're not saying, hey, we're child advocates and we want to help any investigators. I haven't heard any of that from any of them at any point in time. Huh. I wonder why that is. Wonder why that is. Again, it's not rocket science.